Before I start this video, I want to say this is all based on my own personal experience and thought about this update. If some of the stuff I said were wrong, I'm open for criticism. Most of you know that Left 4 Dead 2 is a classic gem that never dies. A fun zombie horde shooting co-op game that never bores you with the amount of replayability it has. Until the Last Stand update dropped. Now, I don't want to say the Last Stand update is bad since it had some cool quality of life changes, which I do appreciate it, but it has some questionable and controversial changes which makes the game even more broken than it is. The Last Stand update was released on September 25th, bringing a new campaign based on the Last Stand survival map. The setting for this campaign is an alternate ending of Death Toll, which the survivors took a different path leading to the Death Toll finale. New survival maps, including most of the Left 4 Dead 1 maps as well. What a perfect way to ditch the first game, am I right, guys? Put all the existing maps into the second game! Rest in peace, you magnificent bastard. There's also a new scavenge map, which to be honest has been the worst mode I ever played. The finale now adds additional horde/tank wave depending on the difficulty. Sometimes special won't make any sounds when they are around the vicinity. This also known as the silent special, where they can't spawn or attack you without making any noises. This happened a lot during regular campaign and other modes as well. New melee weapons such as a shovel and a pitchfork. I was hoping the shovel will act like Far Cry 5 shovel where you can just throw them.
You gave me the courage to stand up and fight.
The pitchfork, however, it's pretty meh. The Counter-Strike source weapon is now available in every regional version now, instead of exclusive for the German version only. But don't worry guys, the game is no longer censored in Germany. There's a ton of stuff that has been added to this update, but the balancing stuff for some of the mode I always played is making me want to drop this game. If you guys don't know, I always play campaign and realism on expert every time cause teamwork matters in that difficulty, and it's fun. Of course your experience will be ruined by griefers and trollers, which is one of the negative aspects of playing on expert.
Traitor!
I'm down!
Get that son of a bitch out of here before I kill him myself! Your work is appreciated. Well done.
Survival is my second favorite mode to play. I play this mode sometimes with friends and randoms in pub, which is a pretty bad idea. Surviving wave of horde for me is an intense experience when you want to reach that time goal or going even further beyond! Now, I know what you're going to ask. Why are you making this video? After 6 months, right when the update drops, I want to share my thoughts on this update. This update really made me question their actual motto from the teaser trailer video dropped by Jace. Remember their motto of the update? Created by the community, for the community. I say this motto is pretty misleading because most of the changes aren't what the community wanted. Well, the majority of the community that is. But before we go to that point, I want to discuss about the campaign itself first, since it's the main highlight of this update after all. The campaign was divided into 2 chapters, the Junkyard and the Lighthouse. The duration of the campaign is the same as Crash Course. The Junkyard chapter seems okay, but it has some few stuff that I hate the most, since the campaign is using Left 4 Dead 1 infected models. They are more blend into the environment due to how poorly lit some of the areas are, especially around the forest. The river area towards the porthouse also another place where most players are going down sometimes. My only tip for anyone that's struggling here is to fight your way to the porthouse because it's much more safer than holding inside the tunnel beneath the bridge. Almost forgot to say they include the mudman in here, which makes this more annoying for the Junkyard chapter. This 2 section right here caused a lot of trial and error at the beginning of the campaign. The porthouse is a secret room located right behind the docks after you're dropping down from the balcony. There will be a door on the small storage room which is breakable. You need to break the door either with a melee or keep shooting, which I don't recommend.
Oh! I see him now! I'ma drop on these shitheads like a fucking piano!
After the door breaks, you are awarded with a golden crowbar on a keyboard beside a corpse inside the death room. Poor bastard. Probably beating his meat too hard while holding the golden crowbar. Probably watching too much off-brand anime. On your way to the junkyard, there's one car that has an alarm set up in the middle of the road, which obviously you have to avoid it unless you want to shoot it. Now, come on. You're not one of those guys who randomly shot a car with an alarm on, are you?
Watch out!
The junkyard area is pretty okay. You can get tier 2 weapons and medical supplies inside the small building at the middle. More useful supplies and weapons scattered around the junkyard. There's also a boomermobile inside the small guard post. You might want to pick this up and save it for the lighthouse chapter. Now, this spot right here is a standard generator rush after you activate the gas bomb, which is pretty annoying. Activating one of the generator will summon the hordes again, which the map creator wants you to activate all 4 generators at the same time. Reaching the river, you saw the plane crash, and it was surrounded by infected. This area right here is probably the part I hate so much for the first chapter. It's too open and infected spawn right at the hill. Just hope the mega horde doesn't come at you when you're still on the hill. Your only chance to survive in here when the mega horde's coming, just camp on the rock at the middle of the river. It's much more safer than holding them from the hill. The lighthouse chapter of this campaign, oh boy, is probably the most cancerous finale I ever played. It's the same level of cancer as the Coldstream finale. Remember that finale section where you have to fight your way against a bunch of hordes to reach the helicopter? Yeah, that shit was fun. Make your way to the lighthouse, turn on the generator to initiate the finale. The first part is your standard holdout section, which is pretty easy since the only place you're going to holding on is on top of the lighthouse. But also dangerous since the only thing that can kill you here is tank and charger. I mean, come on, no one is dumb enough to get charged off the lighthouse by a charger, right?
I need some help over here. I had me good eye on you the whole time!
If you play this on expert, the flaws of the map can be seen when the scavenge run starts. That's right folks, the second part of the finale is scavenge run. The placement on the lighthouse and down the hill are still fair in my opinion, but when you put the last 2 gas cans beneath the lighthouse right at the docks, it's downright stupid. I know there's a bow on top of the lighthouse to give you 30 seconds of free time to collect all of the gas cans, but it doesn't give you enough time to bring it to the generator. Remember that boomer ball I mentioned back in the first part of the campaign? Hope that Burr Bassel's still carrying it with him, bucko! And then you have to fill up the generator while the hordes are coming at you as well. After that you have to hold out a wave of hordes and tank for the second time. The last part of the finale I could say probably the coolest thing we have so far. A metalized tank theme for 2 tanks final battle before the boats arrive. Damn, that's awesome. Killing both tanks and wait until the boat is coming to the docks beneath the lighthouse so you'll be able to escape. Fight your way to the boat to finish off the campaign, and that's it, you finished the Last Stand campaign. The finale for this campaign is really frustrating, resulting in a atrocious amount of trial and error, and hell, even some players managed to rage quit with how much time they died because I'm surprised that the map creator planned for the finale. If you finish this on Realism Expert, you should give yourself a pat in the back, cause you went through hell in this godforsaken campaign. Personally, for me, I have a hate and love relationship with this campaign. The map design were great, but the planning for the entire campaign flow is probably the part I hate the most. Thank God I already got my Realism Expert run achievement. In conclusion for this campaign, good map design, but executed so poorly with its pacing. You feel like a madman after you finish this campaign on Expert or Realism Expert with the amount of death you suffer. Only inside the map designer head of making this update were like, alright guys, we need to make the finale for the Last Stand to be the best finale ever for this campaign. Does anyone here have a good idea what we should do with the second phase? Let's give it a scavenger run phase when we put the last 2 gas cans far away from the generated room. That's a great idea. We go with that plan. This is going to be the greatest campaign ever. This update also comes with some changes with the AI behavior, especially for the special infected. The only noticeable changes I saw for the common infected is the Left 4 Dead 1 version, which they returned to their old attack habits from the original game. Oh, I don't miss those delayed 2-hand attack and fast 1-2 jabs. The jockey now jump from few feet away from its original distance. Met someone having fun with these changes, huh? Chargers now can charge at you a few pixels away from its initial charge distance on close range and also predict your movement before it charges, which I assume to make them act like how versus player does. This is nothing new since it was present before the update with the competitive bot mods. Commons can now reach the blind spot. Best example I can give is the Dark Carnival door roof around the Kittyland area and the infamous metal rail door hold strats on Dark Carnival finale. I appreciate the effort for fixing this spot, but the changes with the specialists, especially in Expert, for some reason they use the same tactics like versus player does. which is good but also frustrating at the same time. Also forgot to mention that the bot AI become less intelligent after this update drop, making them easily get killed by hordes and specials. Now, I'm not a big fan of the versus mode since how toxic the versus player base are. This is a fact since people always going to vote kick you after you get killed on the finale or get death charge as well. So yeah, I don't mind if you call me a noob or what, cause I'm not a versus player. The tweaks and improvement for the versus is great, but there's one changes that is pretty questionable at best, and that is the removal of the horde music for versus. Now, I know for competitive players they want this to be removed. Personally, this is a dumb idea. Not everyone is good at versus. They use this opportunity to attack the survivors. Removing them is basically giving survivors more advantage. It will be nice if they have an option in the lobby to remove it instead being removed by force. Ah yes, survival. My all-time favorite mode that I play most of the time, and probably my main reason for me to improve to get better in the game. It was so much fun back then until they make some changes within the mode. Now, the changes for survival is both good and bad. I'm happy the god spot that hasn't been asset patched or blocked is now can't be accessed anymore to prevent cheating. It's too bad people have to use scripts and shit to get gold medal now, which is pretty sucks. It's a shame they can't implement time record reset or auto detection if the lobby were cheated, so the time you got won't be recorded. During instance that special will get stuck near climbable walls for roughly 5 minutes, the director will now kill them and spawn them later in areas away from possible stuck spots or sometimes near player, thus keeping them on their toes and narrowing the gap on having to recover. Another thing I forgot to mention is the propane and gas can issues. These two can be ignited by just a melee hit and you can't walk through the propane tank. Like, whose idea making the propane tank become a solid prop? Ever I did some testing with Chris about the gas can melee ignition issues, it appears it's already being fixed, but the propane tank still explodes. Now, the changes regarding of special spawn per minute is also making this mode unbalanced. Basically what they did is increase the spawn of smokers, chargers, and jockeys. The smoker part is fine, but why these two? They are the dangerous duo in survival, especially jockeys. I don't know who in the right mind increasing the little abomination spawn more than before was a good idea. Did the update team really get addicted by getting hummed by many jockeys? I'm amazed. This is a good idea for survival changes. You can't even catch a single break. Before the update, survival is pretty much balanced, and I know the stock special issues need to be fixed, but increasing jockey spawn and fixing some viable spot that old survival player already got used to is not a good idea in the first place. You can tell that the team behind the update only talk with some of the community that they know rather than discussing with the entire Left 4 Dead 2 community. All the changes they made are based on what they were told of from the part of that community, instead of what the Left 4 Dead community really wants to be added in the game. As time went on since the update dropped, it received bad reception from the community regarding to this update. Day by day, they had to make patches for the game to fix and bring back the stuff that were complained by the community. I heard the dev team also went downhill after much of the stuff happening, and the relationship between the team is not doing pretty well. This is what happened when you neglect the entire community to help you provide enjoyable content for a major community update for the game. I only know Jace and Senegai only that handling the feedback of the criticism of the update. I have to give them some mad respect that they're still in contact with the community when they're still receiving feedback during that time, but the damage is already done. The game become a broken mess. It's for some people it's good and bad at the same time, but they still really think of making an update that were acceptable for all the community. I heard what happened to Jace from someone that wanted to stay anonymous, and right now he's in hiding until the hit's off. It's funny from the guy who exposed both Serious Samurai and Calm Chick is now in hiding though of his action now becomes a major target by the entire community. Now, I'm not going to defend those two people because they have a really bad history and the things they did are unforgivable for the community. At the end of the day, 6 months has passed since the update was dropped. With the amount of changes that it has, the game still has strong player base and it will never die. Until Back 4 Blood arrive, which I'm not planning to get since it costs $60 for the base game. That's a bit too much for a co-op shooter game these days during the pandemic. At this point, this will be the last time that Valve will accept community updates since Invasion for Team Fortress 2. I think that will be it that I want to say regarding about this update. Took a lot of effort making this video. I want to thanks Resist and Chris for helping me out with the script, and also I want to thanks to my friends for helping me record some of the footage. Without them, this video won't be possible. I really like making this kind of type of content. If you want me to make more of this content like this, smash that like button. It will be appreciated for me, and yes, this kind of style of game review were inspired by Pyrocynical himself.
You also like water? I love water!
I'm going to end this video by giving a score for this update of 3 cheeseburger out of 5.
Getting